Hello, Tom from Every Step Calculus, EveryStepPhysics.com. I'm going to do a series of videos on this trig substitution stuff. You notice here the square root of 9 minus x squared, okay, and then over down here for after three of them, number 4 is x squared minus 9. Okay, so they switch it around. That's a different system also. And then we have x squared plus 9. And of course we add x in front of the square root, and here x squared in front of the square root each time. So that gives you the hardest ones that they generally put on tests or whatever. Totally worthless, of course, along with line integrals. Of course, all calculus really, there's no way calculus solves anything useful, because it deals with functions, and everything has to be in the function, all the information, and there's no classes on functions. There's no way to know how to make a function. Probably extreme math people can try to do it or whatever, but I mean, if you're looking at real world stuff, you know, to put that into a function is a totally different story, probably impossible to do. So anyways, let's do it. The star before each one of these will be the video that I'm going to be doing, okay? So I'm doing this one here. Index 8 to get to my menu. Notice that it's got open and close parentheses. That tells the calculator to do a program, to run a program. And any of my 450 programs in this calculator, as you load it when you purchase them for $40, well worth the money. You could take any one of those programs and put the, you know, in the home screen here, and put the open and close parentheses, and it would run. Doesn't mean that it would run right, because it accesses other programs as we go along. Some of them are individual, so that the correct system would come up. But anyways, let's do this problem here. We go to u-substitution in my main menu, because all this stuff is u-substitution. And we're going to enter the problem into here, okay, into the screen for my entry screen here. You have to press alpha first before you enter anything into these entry lines, okay? You have to press alpha first. And I've already done that in the simulator here to save time, so I'm going to, you can see that I've entered it here. And I always give you a chance to change it if you had entered it in your titanium, and then you can change it if you want. I say it's okay, and you say it's okay. So we do the program, okay? Now there's a basic integration rule for this function, and the integral of 1 over the square root of a squared minus u squared du is equal to the arc sine of u over a plus c. Now I'm going to show you how to do that, how they got that step by step here. So we let x equals a times sine of u, okay, and we differentiate both sides. d dx of x, d du of sine of u turns out to be dx equals a times cosine of u du, okay, and then we square the x squared here. We're going to need that later on. It becomes a squared times sine squared of u. And I show you how this all works. A squared is really 9 in this case. You notice these problems are all set up problems. In other words, this a squared has to be a square. The reason is because every one of these is dealing with a right triangle and the Pythagorean theorem, okay? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. And so this is just the pathetic right triangle that they're switching around in different problems here, and little puzzles that these mathematicians dream up, and we're supposed to memorize this stuff for tests, okay? So even take this one we're doing here now and memorize this for a test. Notice all the things you should memorize and know about. Of course, if you study it for 2 weeks, you could do it, you know it really good, but who knows whether it's going to be on the test, or who knows whether it's other things you need to study. And so what do you study in a calculus test? I don't know. Anyways, a squared equals 9. Square root of 9 is 3. Okay, so a equals 3. And u squared equals x squared. U equals the square root of x squared, which is x. Okay, so we got that figured out. Now we're going to actually figure out what the square root of 9 minus x squared is when you substitute the trig stuff. Well, here's a squared for the 9 minus, we figured out x squared, so there's a squared times sine squared of u. We factor out the square root of a squared, which is here, times the square root of 1 minus sine squared of u, okay? Now, notice that that's a Pythagorean identity. In other words, sine squared of u plus cosine squared of u is equal to 1. That's the identity. And with algebra, we switch the sine squared of u over to the other side, and it becomes cosine squared of u is equal to 1 minus sine squared of u, okay? Which is exactly what we found here underneath the square root sign here, okay? So that equals a times the square root of cosine squared of u, and then of course we square root that, so it becomes a times cosine of u. Okay, so now we take this integral and we substitute what we found into it. Here's dx, we found that, and that was a times cosine of u du, and in the bottom, the denominator is the square root of 9 minus x squared, which is equal to a times cosine of u. So we put that there. Notice that they cancel out here and become 1 du, okay, the integration of that. We integrate that, we come up with u plus c. Now we got to figure out what u is. And we notice that we started with x equals a equals sine of u, okay, so we transfer the a over to the, and divide the left side by a. X over a equals sine of u, right? Well, then you can find out what u equals. This could also be theta, you know, for the angle, but in u-substitution they call it u. And so u is equal to the arc sine of x over a, okay? So here's the problem answer. Arc sine of x over 3 plus c, just like we had the beginning where I told you it was an identity, okay, for an integration. So anyways, pretty neat, huh? Go to my site, buy my programs for $40. You'll never go wrong, and you'll be able to pass calculus pretty easy. It ain't going to be easy, but you're certainly going to get a lot more problems right with my programs than without. And you'll have it for the rest of your life in your calculator here if you don't destroy the calculator or sell it. So think about that, okay? Have a good one. Good luck in your classes.